Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the conference of the Global Apparel Sourcing Expo. This is a digital sourcing fair which has been organized by the IAF, by its partners Sourcing Journal and ForSource. The IAF, of which I am Secretary General, is the International Apparel Federation. It is uniting across the world on all continents, industry associations and companies, buyers, suppliers, the ecosystem of our industry. As part of the Global Apparel Sourcing Expo, we are organizing a conference. We are organizing this along 4 major topics that affect our industry: sustainability, innovation, sourcing, developments, especially as a result also of the COVID-19 crisis, and digitization. Right now, we are focusing on this very important topic, digitization. And I'm very lucky, we are very lucky, I must say, to have with us Ram Sareen, the chairman and founder of TUKATech. TUKATech, a well-known company, a pioneer and a market leader in 3D product development. A company that I think continues to create new and accessible services and products that can help make digitization happen for companies. And that is really what we are looking for now in this series on digitization. So much talk about it. It has moved from something that companies could do to something that companies must do, I would say. So it becomes all the more important to really get a good grasp of what is possible and how actually it can be done. So I would now like to give the word to Ram Sareen.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. You know, my mantra has been change is constant, growth is optional. Doesn't matter what steps it is, we have so many processes, whether we are doing manually or by computers. Somehow or the other, unless we change the workflow and the process, first we must know what is it that we are trying to achieve. In the beginning, in the regular way, could you hold for a second? Yeah. Okay. You may have to start from once the PowerPoint presentation. When I go with the PowerPoint, then you start, because I have to set
Build
the
it up.
stage.
Yeah.
Stage
okay,
for the PowerPoint.
So you give me the sign when I start the animation, and you start talking from the beginning. We cut this part out, so we pretend that I just made the introduction. You start talking. You give me the cue when I start this animation.
Okay, so good. I'll start from my now. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for giving us the opportunity. My mantra has been very simple: change is constant, growth is optional. What does that mean? We really have to invent and reinvent the way we think. Most of us are what we call reactive people. There are very few proactive who look at the future and plan for the future by making changes. But most of us are now looking for digital solutions, seamless conversation, cut out the bad steps, which were not really adding any value for the entire supply chain. In product development, and that's where everything starts. In the old workflow, whether it is done manually or by computers or partially both, most of the designers would continue with creating a sketch, and then a modelist or a pattern maker will try to make a pattern, and then somebody will cut and sew a sample, and then you present that back to the designer or the design team. Well, that's fine and dandy, except now the supply chain is scattered, and we must communicate digitally, get to the point as quickly as possible, and then add value to only where everybody is agreeing to. I'm going to explain that. My first objective is to show a garment, a product that I have just developed with all these processes of making the sample and so on. And we decided we need to interrupt that. We need to disrupt that process and get to the bottom line. So at TUKATech, we created a database which covers 75 to 90% of the major category of the products that the industry uses. Now, they may be for men or women, for children, or large sizes, small sizes. But if you look around, the basic garments, the t-shirts, the shirts, the dresses, the blouses, the pants, the jogging pants, the jeans, most of these categories start from a pattern, which is then a fabric that we are going to use, and then whatever the embellishment or the color or the print and so on. In digital world, these are three different areas. So we created a database, and if you look at the TUKAweb, where all the possible categories are available. So anyone with zero understanding of pattern making, grading, marker making, sample sewing can just go in and browse through. So go ahead and run the, so now it's the first one, slide prior to that. Yes, just run the video on that, this one. Thank you. Now I can go into this and look at, I want to create a visual sample in 3D. So I could go into the library, browse through what possible products are available, which are what we call the blank canvases in 3D. Remember, these are 3D garments made from 2D patterns on a fit model's body, which fits perfectly. If I like something, I can open it up, look at that garment, look at the side, front, and back, see it on the model. I know, looking at this, what is the model measurements. I know what the measurements of the garments are. And if this is what I like, for $5, I can just buy this. Bring it in to an application called TUKAdesign. Next slide, please. When I have this visualizer module, which is available at $29 a month, I can open it, go ahead, and I can zoom it, I can rotate it. I can even open this pattern, the entire garment, to all the pattern pieces, bring it into Photoshop. And if I have my graphics, my prints, my colorways, I can bring that in. Now I'm a creator. I am a creative person with design and development and the prints and the embroideries and the embellishments. I am not really making a garment. I am now creating a look of that garment. If I like it, I can save that. If I want to now visualize that into different products or different variations, hey, I can send this out to my internal team. And my investment is very little because I already had the design patterns, the print patterns already in my graphic system. I now get to visualize. Once I like this, next slide, please. I now have a line sheet that I can now create to communicate with the buyers, to show my line. Either I sketch it and do it, or I do it now in 3D in the real scale, so the person looking at this can actually visualize what the product is going to look like. Go ahead. So when I'm making this, I'm sending it the front and the back of each and every style variation that I've created in one sheet. goes to the person who's now saying, hey, I like it, this colorway, but I want you to make these changes. So at this stage, I have done what should have taken a long time to get to this stage. And this is where the industry has an option to save all this time. Once I like it, next slide, please. I can now go in to get the pattern for this one, which is made on a CAD system. And this pattern can be purchased. The video, please. This pattern can be purchased in TUD format in TUKATech for $5. So my pattern making time is gone. My option of checking the fit is gone. Now I'm making minor style line changes. They wanted to make it a little longer sleeve. It takes literally 5 to 7 minutes for me to go ahead and make the corrected pattern, which will fit first time because it started from a fitted block, fitted garment. Once that is done, if I really have a full 3D system, I can bring it in. Go ahead. Next slide, please. I can bring it into the garment, into the 3D system, visualize the garment in the actual fit with the correction done, and send that garment. I can send that garment directly to a website without having to make a sample. I can send that out to my buyers or my people who have specified the purchase of this one. The possibilities are endless. The idea, again, this thing is to reduce the number of steps and get to the final stage as quickly with as little pain as possible. And that's what this project is called, reversing the workflow. Maybe start from the end and then fix the front, rather than start from the front and then get to the stage where hit and miss and hit and miss. 80% of all samples developed today go in landfills. I want to reduce that 80%. I want to reduce the number of people who are miscommunicating in between the entire supply chain. The old, very old saying, the picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, a video is worth 1,000,000. So I can actually show it from any place in the world in the real-time motion simulation. I can even show how the garment fits. I can show where is the fabric behavior showing the difference, where the stretch is, how much pressure is it causing against the body for compression garments. I can show where in the weft or warp or in X-ray, how much of that fabric is giving the ease against the body. So the objective again is to have zero tolerance between what you see versus what you get, so you can eliminate the physical making of the garment. Does that explain?
Yes. Yes, thank you very much, Rob. We have come to the end of your visuals, right? So we will get back. Thank you very much for that. That was very inspiring, and I'm very glad that what I said at the beginning, that you always make things very accessible, that we could see that here now. So my impression, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that what we see is the power of sharing as well, creating a library that can go even a step further than the techniques that you also have to have 3D development. But with the library, you can make it even a lot quicker, because you don't have to develop all of these things that have already been developed. You don't. It's a little bit like sometimes songwriting. songwriting is not so much about creating entirely new songs, but it's about, you know, rehashing things and creating new things. It seems simple, but in reality, a lot of the work has already been done, also by your company. Is that right?
That is correct. Now, if you think about the vision, the objective is to reduce the skill level and make it easier for a lot more people to get into the industry and add value. If you look around the younger generation, the startup companies, they're all technology oriented. They love technology. They're missing skills. They may not know how to fit the armhole between the front and the back and where to add the fullness. They may not know how to do the collar setup. They may not know a lot of things, but things don't change that quickly. This is the reason why in the old days we used to I have a block pattern for a shirt, a block pattern, but those things never worked because if the fabric was changed, how did that change happen? We've taken a very systematic approach. If you look at country like India or Pakistan or Bangladesh, or where they are making ethnic clothing, their structure, the silhouettes, the bodies of the products don't change.
Yeah.
They change very little, maybe a little longer, a little shorter, a little wider, a little tighter, but the fit parameter stays the same. If I could make the template of that and then give it to the designer who's creating all these embroideries and the prints and the placement of the prints, it's same products being shown, but in different colorways and different prints and different value adds. Those value adds, they don't have to do it physically. This is the greatest thing about all these Photoshop and illustrators and Krita and even Paint for that matter. I have a 12-year-old who's doing some work on this one. My testing is always done with the people who have no idea. That's when we know we have arrived.
Yeah.
Trust me, you've got to design technology for people who are not that skilled and for the technology to work. My objective when I started this company was to make technology available to everybody. Two things you must consider. Whether it is a small company or a large company, the number of steps will require exactly the same to get from point A to point Z, whether we do it manually or we do it with computers or technology. The only problem was the technology was not feasible for many of them to attain. Yeah. Their budgets were not there. So my objective was to have the little guy who has the desire but not the capital. So we started a subscription program about 20 years ago so the pattern makers can make their own patterns. And we started TUKA centers, which were where the resources were shared. Today they are called communal factories, where anyone can walk in and say, I have an idea, and somebody will execute that idea. So these are micro factories. We offer digital printing to cutting to sewing to making demand manufacturing. Again, it was a stepping stone for small companies to get started without any capital and get that thing done so that they have a place to go and grow their own businesses. Okay. It's very gratifying.
Yeah.
And I want to caution one thing. Because we are a privately held company, we have 0 investors, and we want to keep it that way because it's not about making money. So do not be judging my products or my services or my performance by the price. I choose to make it so affordable that a person who's making very little money in a small little country has the option to grow and become a large brand by using technology.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's, that's what can I say? The word gratifying, I think, is very good, and it's a very positive image. I think you have an image or an objective behind this of how the industry is going or should look like in maybe 10 years. Can you say a little bit about that? What would be your ideal image of this industry of ours, given the chance to use much more of this accessible technology? What would it evolve into in an ideal situation?
Ideally, I should be having my garments made for me of my choice near where I live.
Okay.
That means supply chain to be much smaller supply chain. I am working with what I get in that area, and I have nothing traveling million miles, whether it's buttons or trims and so on. It's no different than what was with food.
Exactly.
We used to eat
I
what
was
was
thinking about
in
that.
season that time. Mangoes were not just all year round because I can import from countries where they are coming in from because they are growing in that season. It was growing in my country at certain time. Same thing in the clothing. I want to wear clothing which is made by somebody local for me rather than having all these choices and whatever I don't choose goes into the landfills. Cost will be lower. People will have supply chains near where they live, and everybody will have more employment. It's not going to reduce the employment. The billion people in India will be producing for billion people in India. Billion people in China will be producing for billion people. We will have a different way of working. In 2012, we were the first one to come up with microfactory, demand manufacturing, the first company to adopt totally manless operation was in California. Today, we have more than 200 companies who do not even make a sample. They have zero inventory, no photo shoot. There are quite a few of them in Pakistan.
Yeah.
You know a few of them already.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
you and I were in Pakistan.
Yeah.
My point is, it's not related to where the cost of labor is. It's nothing to do with cost of people, labor. It is the demand. I need this, therefore I make this for you. And that I think will accelerate at a much faster rate than we have been doing. Made to measure, made to order, made on demand, made locally. These are not just buzzwords. This is what's happening already in a smaller scale, but it's going to get bigger and bigger, okay?
Yeah.
And technology helps.
It's an appealing vision. I'm thinking I'm still of the generation where people thought that you had to learn how to program a computer to be able to use it, right? So learn the BASIC and Pascal, and that's bizarre now. Now I've got my neighbor who's making a kid of 19 making 3 times of what I'm making because he's really good at developing apps, and he doesn't have to know all of the programming steps. He uses the software that's been developed, to have existing building blocks, and he just puts them together in a smart way. And I think there's a lot of similarities. The best restaurants, at least I think in California too, but also here in Northwestern Europe, are the ones where the chefs actually get the ingredients from like an area of a 30-mile radius.
Correct.
And also they don't have that much choice. That's the whole that's the whole thing. And that's what people perceive as value. So it's great to see those parallels, and I love your vision of this, and the fact that
this is a perfect example that you gave. You're right. The best restaurants have a very limited menu.
Yeah,
because they are best at those things.
Yeah,
the 6-page menu doesn't impress me because
no,
I'm not really out to eat. I'm out to enjoy an evening for a special meal. And if I want to go to enjoy a particular meal, I will go to a specialized restaurant. This is exactly what the clothing is all about. Fashion is all about. Fashion is a very personal thing. It's not something that you put it up there on the racks and then hope that everybody is going to like it, because some will and some won't. What happens
exactly.
to those products?
What do you do with those that won't? Great. I think we could go on. I know we could go on for a long time, but our time has come to an end. So I would like to thank you very much, Ram, for your inspiring words.
The only parting comments I like to leave for anybody who's listening: think, but think different. Whatever you're doing today, it better be not the same that you did yesterday. That's the only thing I think will make a change. Change is not going to happen by everybody else changing around you, but change is going to happen from every one of us making a change.
That's great.
Thank you.
We remember that. Thank you very much for this.
Pleasure is all mine.